on to the reshuffle aspect, he's now reshuffled quite quickly off the back of this, and in a way, sort of salvaged something out of it. And one of the main things he's done is bring in Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary. And now there's a bit of debate on this. So there's a low IQ kind of take, and I was talking to academic agent about this, and I agree with him on this part, that when you see American accounts, and I've seen lots of this saying, Britain has fallen, they have a Muslim Home Secretary, Britain has fallen. It's very annoying. It's like, stop saying we've fallen, shut up. It doesn't mean we've fallen. At the same time, she does have a history of sort of attending these Muslim rallies, and sort of it seems to be a very key part of her identity. And she says stuff that, and there's a picture of her with the Palestine flag and all this kind of thing. She seems quite into it. So yes, I can understand that she definitely seems quite into her Muslim identity. Some people were saying, why are people bringing it up? You shouldn't be able to bring this up. At the same time, I saw Baroness Worsley bring it up as a positive and say it's a great thing to have women and minorities and all this kind of thing. So it's like her identity can be used as a positive on the left. So then people can use it as a negative on the right. It's inevitable. That said, that aside, she's also going to be someone who potentially could be tougher. I mean, let's see, but this is the theory, tougher on immigration, and quite cynically brought in for that reason. So it's been in the broadsheet, so it's not really hiding it in Labour that she can be tougher than Cooper because she's Muslim, in the same way that the Tories wrongly thought Kemi couldn't be attacked because she was a black woman. We see this all the time. This is a kind of standard way of thinking among the parties. So there's very different takes. I think both can be true, that long term, she may be very identified as a Muslim and follow the same agenda as any Muslim, but also in the short term, she could actually try and get down immigration. And one of the ways she might do it is by following Blunkett's idea of derogating from Article 3 of the ECHR, which means it's kind of built into it. It's not suspending it. You temporarily get out of certain articles. And he actually explains it here. I thought we'd share the video because I just happened to come across this just before we came on air. And this might be how it ends up working. So let's see.
It's interesting that you've mentioned Shabana Mahmood before I have. Is she the most Blunkett Home Secretary since Blunkett?
Well, we'll see.
Could she be?
Well, her senior special advisor was a special advisor to me. And there is a direct line.
The apple never falls very far from the tree.
There's a direct line, and I hope very much that she'll take the necessary tough steps.
So here's two decisions: digital ID and reforming the ECHR. Do you think Shabana Mahmood will be the Home Secretary to do both of those?
I think on the first, it's a certainty. On the second, we're talking about derogation, I think, not pulling out of the ECHR. And I would support her if she needs to do that.
So he's been obsessed with this derogation for a while, and they're clearly sort of, they got the same advisors and things. So, and this is Blunkett, who, by the way, if I can find it, Blunkett famously wanted to punish prisoners in an incredibly harsh way. Did you ever hear that story?
Well, interesting. He said that we shall see. So he's predicting a miracle.
Yeah. So, well, yes. I mean, it might not work out. But by the way, just for context, Blunkett, can you see that? Blunkett machine gun prisoners claim. This is a article from 2006.
We forget that Shabana Mahmood is, because she's a Muslim, is culturally conservative, so culturally right wing. We forget how culturally right wing the Blair government was, and how they had figures like Blunkett in there. The New Labour was not about
not right wing, but they were prepared to be somewhat authoritarian in their
Labour backbenchers. Labour backbenchers are worried, generally concerned that Keir Starmer is now building a cabinet to the right of Labour,
sort of Blairite cabinet, yeah.
And I think to some degree, they're right to have that concern from their perspective. I'm not sure it's right from our perspective, but from their perspective, I'm sure it is. But that's because he's a knee-jerk reaction to reform. He doesn't know how to handle reform. Like I said previously, reform are on this victory march to 2029 or 2027, maybe. And in order to do so, they're just, instead of playing their own politics, because he doesn't have an ideology, because therefore doesn't have a strategy, he doesn't know what to do except look around and see what someone else is doing and try to mimic that in some way. And of course, because it's so disingenuous, because he has no philosophy, he's unable to do it. So, you can't copy Farage and then expect Farage not to be 20 steps ahead the whole time.
I sort of disagree with that, but I'll explain in a second, because I just want to explain what this is while it's on the screen. Blunkett, hysterical David Blunkett told the prison service to call in the army and machine gun inmates in order to regain control of a riot-torn prison. This was about a prison, Lincoln Jail. and this was allegedly said it only, but that was the Guardian back in 2006 when they sometimes did news. So Paul, on your claim, so I slightly disagree. I think Starmer is a Blairite. He's a managerial. He's just not as good as Blair, but he's a managerial Blairite who sort of power, get it done type of person. And Morgan McSweeney is on that side, and Mahmood and all the other people actually now in the cabinet, except for Ed Miliband, who's sort of knocking around, and they can't get this. But he tried to take him off and put him onto housing, and Miliband refused and has enough power to refuse and said, "No, I just want to stick on my green mania." But everyone else is sort of fully Blair right now. So I think Starmer it's Starmer trying to use the Rayner thing to get back on top of his cabinet, basically, and his party, because he had the problem that you want to do something on benefits, and these people are nutters and they're Brownites. They won't cut benefits even slightly, whereas he's like, this needs to be done. So now he's got Starmer, obviously, Lammy, Reeves, Mahmood, Miliband is the one weird one, Streeting, Cooper, Darren Jones, who said that it's only women and children on the boats, Steve Reed, no one knows who he is, Peter Kyle, awful, Pat McFadden, old Blairite, John Healey, Liz Kendall, Hilary Benn. You get the idea. This is all Blairite stuff. So mostly. So
well, because they want to deliver digital ID, which is mentioned in that clip.
Blair's dream, yeah.
And Blair's wet dream, and our sweaty nightmare, I think. Given the political landscape we find the authoritarian political landscape we find ourselves in. And I was talking to some young people, by which I mean young 20-year-old adults, about this. Well, we can't really see what the issue with digital ID is. And I said, well, there's nothing wrong with digital ID itself. It's who owns the data. It's the data that's powerful. You can make a lot of good cases for actually having digital ID if the people using the data are acting in good faith. And I don't believe that imagine the Starmer government having access to all of your digital data. Then you wander around outside a migrant hotel with a Union Jack on your back saying, please leave our children alone. Before you know it, your benefits seem to have been taken away, or you can't get a job because you're being blacklisted. Oh, no, it's just a coincidence. No,
yeah, I do think that is the big problem. I think it'll be this. I said this last time, we saw during COVID how what they'll do. It's all the social credit score stuff. Yes, and will it really stop the boats? No, it won't stop the boats. It'll just
it won't stop the black economy, because the black economy always remains black. It all remains. It's an outlier. It remains outside of the system.
And you don't mean like hip hop and stuff. You mean like
no, I don't. No, keep it black. That's what I've always said. Keep the black economy black. NWA, Biggie, all that lot. They were great. But I'm saying that these people aren't asking for ID now. And if they're getting shown the Deliveroo cyclists, for instance, oh my God, I was driving through Putney High Street last night. Deliveroo cyclist just cycled in front of the car, got hit by the car, then just got up and went off. I'm like, I said, "You all right, mate?" He's just gone. Didn't even speak English. They just deliberately cycled. They're maniacs, right? I'm not saying they're all maniacs, but this particular guy was an absolute maniac.
Maybe they can't be killed. Maybe that's why there's so many of them.
He didn't. He just touched the bumper and he kind of fell to one side. And it's like, but he cycled in front. He lost his footing, cycled in front of my car. And there's bloody loads. They're just everywhere, right? They're just absolutely everywhere. And they're all of a type, okay? And what am I supposed to do? Pretend they're not. I see it. I'm driving in London 3 or 4 times a week. There is a black economy quite clearly going on. I've been in an Uber before, and I look at my app, and it shows a picture of Mahmood or whoever's driving me along. That picture does not correspond to the fella in the driving seat. I mean, he's taking me from A to B. He does the job safely.
No. I never get delivery or any of those things, and I think you shouldn't get them. As many people have said at this point, you can't be It's
not so much of a thing where I am, and I've never used Deliveroo.
Oh, good. You can't be buying into it. You've got to take a stand against all this garbage.
But that's the black economy I'm talking about. They're not going to be the people that are allowing these people to be employed in that way are not saying, "Can we have your digital ID, please?" And do you know what? I actually don't want this authoritarian state for a whole raft of reasons. Look. Stop them coming in. Stop it at source. We always come up with these magnificent ways of fixing the problem, but it still allows them in.
That's what happened. But there's another part of it that I forgot to share, that where Mahmood's claiming as well that she'll crack down on visas. So Britain to suspend visas for countries failing to take back illegal migrants, says Mahmood. UK will suspend visas from countries that refuse to play ball on taking back illegal migrants. So she's talking tough. Let's
it is
see
right
if
wing.
next-
It is conservative rhetoric. They have no choice to do so. I would say that if this rhetoric was coming from someone we had faith in and supported, by which I mean not her personally, the system in which she has to work, the civil service system, the government that she represents, the Labour Party. If she was saying this in good faith for someone I believed in, I'd say, look, go and do it. I don't think it goes far enough. I don't think she'll achieve anything. Yvette Cooper has got out of jail free. She totally failed. She utterly failed her remit and then got made Foreign Secretary.
And people saw it as a demotion, but it's not the worst
It's
demotion.
one of the 4 key jobs in government: Home, Foreign, Chancellor, PM. Those are the 4 big jobs.
Which meant, by the way, that David Lammy got moved to Deputy Prime Minister,
and Justice
that is
Secretary.
seen as a demotion, because it's not really, no one really knows what it is.
I asked Barry Gardner this actually, and we didn't get to go through it in full. But I said, how long can he remain Deputy Prime Minister? Because Labour will elect through some laborious voting system, I'm sure, a new deputy party leader, which my assumption is automatically becomes deputy PM. I don't know if that's true or not. It certainly happened. I'm just trying to think in previous Labour governments if that was the case. Generally, I think so. So,
do you know who the only 2 Labour deputy leaders to become leader have been? We're doing quizzes now, guys.
Was Brown one of them?
No. No,
because they were in the same. Usually, the deputy leader.
Because he was Chancellor, wasn't he? He was Chancellor.
Yeah. Usually, the deputy leader of the Labour Party is almost from one of the a different church, a different sect of the Labour Party. They get, the way they're voted in is deliberately juxtaposed.
I'll give you one clue. It's not that recent, and one of them was a long time ago.
So one of them's quite recent, and one of them's a very long time.
One of them's recent-ish, and one of them's not that recent. But not very recent. This is great. This is great radio.
Dead air. Yeah. So became a Labour PM
from being deputy. Labour leader from being not PM. Labour leader from being.
Okay. That's different then. So that could be.
We should have cut this bit out while Paul thinks.
Yeah. Sorry. Go on. Let's cut to it because
it's Michael Foot and Clement Attlee.
Clement Attlee would have been the old one that I would have said just as a guess. Michael Foot, that is not that recent, is it? And when was that? 1988 or something?
I was trying to. I don't know the exact year he became, but I was trying to help you. But anyway, trivia, pointless trivia. But I'm turning into my dad gradually. This is what my dad. Do you know who? It always is to me. It always grilled me. Do you know just some football fact he's read that day in the Times?
I mean, it's also a big problem for Keir Starmer. This, by the way, because he's going to end up in someone that essentially opposes his style of leadership, his politics of leadership in the Labour Party, and he will have to work with them. This is one of those strange sort of peccadillos with the Labour Party. And
Lammy doesn't really oppose him, does he?
No, he's just been put in place. I mean, he's just a stooge. I think Lammy, Justice Secretary, he basically designs the justice system now, or is in charge of the justice system.
Well, I was thinking in his role as deputy. Go on.
So in that role, as a man who believes a man can grow a cervix, he's literally overseeing the way our judiciary runs. That's a huge worry to me, really. I mean, but the deputy role is just this kind of, it's a stooge for Starmer at the moment. And
I agree. The mad thing is that Rachel Reeves remains, despite doing one of the worst jobs ever. But of course,
I think the markets would tumble. I think half the problem, there's 2 reasons, isn't there? Famously, you know that if you sack the Chancellor, then the PM's next.
I say that's the only reason.
And I would also say that if you did sack her, it would recover and quite quickly recover. It would create the kind of spiral that Liz Truss created in being essentially sacked. And therefore, they would have no legs at all to stand on, because the only leg they currently got left to stand on is that they can point to Liz Truss and say everyone's paying a higher mortgage rate because of Liz Truss, Liz Truss, Liz Truss, Liz Truss. That's all they can do. So I've got this theory that if the markets spoil, I mean, because basically, if you look at the markets, it's in a Fabian-esque way, they've created the Liz Truss debacle slowly over time. They've essentially taken us to where it was with Liz Truss over a 12 to 14 month period. Whereas if the Chancellor, i.e. Rachel Reeves, was to be sacked tomorrow, I think we'd see a quick spiral. That would cause all sorts of problems, and they wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Starmer would be gone. I think now, because of PMQs today, and we'll get to it, I'm sure, Starmer is on his way out anyway, quicker than we all thought.